now where we're going to check in with our friends at the National Weather Service. And older brother Brandon Aydlett joins us right now with landed on vacation. So, Brandon Hoffany, good morning, man. Welcome to the show.
Today, good morning. It's good to be here. Good to join you. I've been talking with Landon a little bit. He's over on the East Coast, down in Florida. I think he's down in Daytona right now, so he's enjoying a little bit of rest and relaxation, and trying not to get too dirty with to work while he's on vacation. But so it's good to be here with everybody, and let's talk about some of the weather we've seen the past week, and then what we've got in store for us this coming week. So let me go ahead and change my camera around and give you a little bit of an overview of what we're looking at on the satellite imagery. So this is the infrared satellite. You can see the Marianas right across in the center of your screen. The big feature of this past week has been the monsoon trough, and that has been situated well to our north for the whole week. But we've seen a lot of the heavier showers and thunderstorms that originally were over the Marianas. We saw some heavy rain across Mount Santa Rosa just a couple of days ago, and these rains have gradually retreated northward. So that has spelled some drying for us in the short term. And let me show you one of the other satellite images that we like to look at. This is satellite-based moisture. So the satellites are looking through the atmosphere and giving us an estimation of how much moisture there is in the air. If you were to take all the moisture and condense it over a single column, we'd be looking at 2 to 3 inches across much of the Marianas, especially the far northern islands up to Tagan, Alamagan, where we have had a special weather statement for the past several days. Down across Guam and the rest of the CNMI, we're looking at a little bit drier, but still we have that vulnerability of some moderate to heavier showers at times. But we should see that risk decreasing. So let's go ahead to the slides. I think Jason should have those ready to go.
Yes, sir.
And let's roll their slides.
Yep, good to go.
All right. So right now we are looking at, we still have a high surf advisory across the region. And so we're looking at 7 to 10 foot surf along west facing reefs. And let me switch my camera around. Here we go. So we're looking at a high surf advisory continuing through tonight. And so that's going to be a 7 to 10 foot surf along west facing reefs of the Marianas. We did have a small craft advisory for the past couple of days, mainly for Tinian and Saipan, where we are looking at the seas of up to 7 to 10 feet. 10-foot seas is what we consider hazardous for small craft, but conditions are coming down. They're starting to improve, as well as winds. With that hazardous surf, though, there is a high risk of strong rip currents. So we advise people to exercise caution in the water, and especially on the west side of the islands, perhaps refrain from going into the water. We do still have a special weather statement in effect for the far northern Mariana Islands. We're looking at wind, seas, and surf gradually improving. And then across Micronesia, there's not much to speak of, at least hazard-wise. There are some showers and thunderstorms, and some large clusters affecting parts of Palau and Yap State, and also south of Chuuk and Pohnpei. But most of the emphasis for hazards is north and northwest of the Marianas and to the Philippine Sea. So let's go to the next slide and do a quick recap of just what we've been seeing. Let's see, that's the high surf for the west basin reefs. I do have a slide that shows rip currents. Rip currents are notoriously dangerous across the Marianas, actually anywhere in the world. But when it comes to weather-related fatalities, rip currents are the number one cause for the Marianas. And rip currents are easy to get out of if you know what to do. If you're like me, as soon as something happens and you're in the water, that panic sets in. And as soon as that panic has set in, you're already on a losing battle. So the key is once you feel yourself getting tugged out, if you're ever in that situation, relax, stay afloat, and you can easily swim to either side, paralleling the ocean current or paralleling the beach. And you're quickly out of that current. The currents are only about 20 to 30 feet wide. So just kind of float to the side, you're out of that current. Of course, then you're dealing with the hassle of how do you get back in through that large surf on the reef edge. So the most important thing is if there's a high risk of rip current, stay out of the water. And then all the time, whenever you go to the beach, have any type of a marine activity, make sure nobody knows where you are. Always use the buddy system. That is the safest thing to do anytime you go out on the waters anywhere. in the Marianas. So let's go to the next slide. We've been looking at rainfall amounts for the past week. We did have a flash flood watch for earlier this past week, and some of the weekly rainfall amounts we saw at 8.5 inches just about at Mount Santa Rosa. There's a USGS rain gauge, and I think it was Saturday that Mount Santa Rosa received some impressive thunderstorms, a lot of lightning, torrential rains, and that really added up pretty quickly. Down across southwestern Guam, we saw 6 to 7.5, 8 inches across Yamatic, Santa Rita, and Mauricio. We did see some flooding. We did issue a couple of flash flood warnings, and luckily, we're glad to say that the chances of such heavy rainfall, at least for the next couple of days, is quite a bit reduced from this past week. Let's go to the next slide. Looking at the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, look at what tropical cyclones they're issuing bulletins on. There is still the tropical storm 09W, that was INFA, that we had issued some advisories on earlier in the week. That is up into the Chinese coast. It's just drifting northward, not doing much, at least in the Philippine Sea, but parts of China are getting some pretty heavy rain and some strong winds. And then well to the north of us is tropical storm 11W, Napartat. That was the one that formed near the far northern Mariana Islands and lifted northward. And so with that storm moving northward, it's also kind of pulling up the monsoon trough away from the Marianas, giving us a little bit of clearing trends. So let's go to the next slide. This is the current wind surface data. This is one of the data parameters that we look at all the time. Without the satellites, we'd be looking at relying solely on models. But this satellite data gives us really good feel for what's happening on the ocean surface. And so I've put a little bit of color coding to show just what those wind speeds are. You see the blue, that's 10 to 15 knots, green, 15 to 20, yellow and oranges head into the 20 to 35 knot range. So that's pretty breezy. And across the Marianas, you can see Guam and Saipan, we're back into the blue and a little bit of green. The green, the stronger winds are lifting northward. So we're seeing our short-term wind forecast starting to come down. Across the far northern islands, where they're still within the 20 to 25 knot wind swath, that's the reason we've had the special weather statement the past couple of days. Those winds were actually 30 to 40 knots earlier this week. So they were howling with winds and heavy rains. They're starting to see those trends also improve. And but that monsoon trough is going to be around for the next week. And so that's going to spell some potential trouble with the forecast. There's some uncertainty in the long run, and I'll get to that in just a moment. So next slide, let's talk about the sea conditions. The seas are coming down slowly. Today we have combined seas of 7 to 9 feet, primarily from a west swell of 5 to 7 feet. That's because of our high surf on west-facing reefs. But we do see the sea conditions gradually on the downtrend the next couple of days. We should be seeing seas falling to between 5 and 7 feet by Tuesday, still with a west swell of about 3 to 5 feet. So that's going to be a moderate risk of rip currents. So continue to exercise caution. I know people are going to want to be getting outside into the waters this week with a little bit of let up in the clouds and rain, myself included. But just keep your eyes to the water and don't be caught surprised. Low tide is going to be this afternoon, minus 0.2 feet, and kind of seeing that same tide progression. High tide is going to be late this evening and then early tomorrow morning. This is some more satellite data on the right side. That's the satellite derived sea heights. And we did have a nice pass overnight about 9 p.m., indicating 10 to 11 foot seas over the far northern islands. And this actually provides confirmation. You can see Saipan and Tinian with seas around 8 to 9 feet. That is confirmation that those 10-foot seas have come down and gives us more confidence in dropping the small craft advisory this morning. And finally, next slide, let's look at the week ahead. Like I said, we do see some improving trends in the short term. Southwest winds would be decreasing, becoming more southerly on Tuesday. We're still looking at isolated showers and thunderstorms for the next couple of days, but certainly not the heavier widespread rain that we've seen off and on this past week. Temperatures will be coming back up with some more breaks in the clouds. Around Wednesday, we do see another increase in showers and thunderstorms. We've got a low-level surface ridge, a ridge of high pressure trying to nudge in from the east. That's going to bring our winds around to the south, and but that's going to retreat off back eastward late week as we possibly see some of the monsoon redevelop. So stay tuned through the week. We're going to see some more showers redeveloping toward next weekend, possibly winds and seas back on the rise. And finally, the last slide. You can find all of our forecasts. We update them at a minimum every 12 hours, every morning and afternoon at weather.gov/GUM. And then find us on Facebook at NWS Guam for any relevant updates and forecast trends. We like to communicate with people. If you have questions, feel free to send us a question anytime, and we will get back to you as soon as we can. And with that, I think that's all I've got for you for today.
All right, thanks so much, Brandon. Man, great job, dude. I like the rain and all and everything like that. It makes the plants grow, the grass enjoys it and everything like that. But I think I've seen all the rain I want to see maybe for the next few days. I'm missing the sunshine.
Yeah, it's good to have a little break. I love a rainy, stormy day. In fact, my wife and I, we enjoyed our rainy day. I think it was last Monday or so. We just had our son. He was in a daycare, so we pulled out the Nintendo and played some Zelda for a few hours.
Very nice. Hey, like the song says, man, I love a rainy night.
There you go.
Hey, all right, we'll see you next week, man. Thanks a lot. Great job.
All right, take care.
All right, so Brandon Aydlett, once again, of the National Weather Service. We are going to have our conversation with Dr. Juan Flores, the Superintendent of Catholic Social Services, coming right up. But first, let's get to Tomorrow News with King Conception, sponsored by First Hawaiian Bank.
Winners and updates to get soon to be tomorrow ni KUAM News. Presentan ni Familian Mito gi First Hawaiian Bank. Adila legislación ni sampai hot sa lapi Medicaid ni